Let's talk about a date, February 7th, 2026. This is the day that some are calling the Silicon Resurrection of Siri. In a move that honestly just sent shockwaves through Silicon Valley, Apple basically conceded the AI race to Google. After years of trying to build their own thing, they chose reliability over rivalry. They signed a historic $1 billion a year deal to put Google's Gemini 3 AI right into the very heart of the iPhone.
And yeah, that's the real head scratcher here, isn't it? Why would Apple, a company that has built its entire brand, its identity on being a fortress for your data, suddenly turn around and pay its biggest rival to put a Google brain inside every single iPhone? It sounds totally backward, but as we're about to see, this was a calculated gamble, and it was one born from a crisis that was brewing right inside your phone.
So, to really get why this happened, this shocking alliance, we have to pull back the curtain and look at the quiet crisis that was unfolding inside Apple. For years, as AI just exploded everywhere else, the iPhone's own assistant was getting left behind. I mean, let's just be honest with ourselves. The old Siri, it had become a bit of a running joke. You'd ask it something and it was so rigid. It couldn't really hold a conversation. If you asked a follow-up question, half the time it had no idea what you were talking about anymore. And forget about complex, multi-step tasks. The whole thing just wasn't built for it. And for a company like Apple that is just obsessed with user experience, this was a massive failure. And just how bad was it? Well, the numbers are pretty staggering. Reports were showing that the old Siri had a 33% failure rate on complex user requests. Think about that, a 1 in 3 chance of getting it wrong. That is just not the Apple way. They knew they couldn't just patch this up. They needed a complete overhaul. Now flip that coin. The new Gemini-powered Siri is reportedly hitting an incredible 92% success rate on those exact same kinds of complex multi-app tasks. We're not just talking about a small upgrade here. This is a revolutionary leap forward. It's a whole new ballgame. So you're Apple. You're facing this massive performance gap. What do? Well, you make a very pragmatic and frankly, a very un-Apple-like decision. If you can't build a world-class AI brain fast enough yourself, you go out and you license one, even if it's from your biggest rival. Okay, take a look at this. This chart really tells the whole story. It shows what we can call the parameter gap that basically forced Apple's hand. Now, think of parameters as like the knobs and dials an AI uses to think. Apple's own model topped out at around 150 billion. The new Gemini model they're licensing, 1.2 trillion. That is an 8-fold jump in raw computational power. It's not just a bigger engine, it is a fundamentally different kind of machine. So what about the money? $1 billion a year? I mean, that sounds like an insane amount of money, right? But you have to put it into perspective. Google already pays Apple over $20 billion a year just to be the default search engine in Safari. So when you look at it that way, tacking on another billion for a state-of-the-art AI brain, well, it's almost a rounding error. It just builds on this massive financial partnership that's already in place. And I really want to drive this point home. We have to stop thinking of this as just another software update. It's not. This is a brain transplant. Google's Gemini model isn't just some added feature. It's the new core logic for Apple Intelligence. It's handling the deep reasoning and the complex planning that the old Siri could only dream of doing.
Okay, but all this talk about a Google brain inside an iPhone brings us right back to the elephant in the room, privacy. How on earth can Apple let a Google AI onto your device without completely demolishing the privacy-first promise they've made to all of us? Well, the answer is a really groundbreaking piece of engineering they're calling private cloud compute. The easiest way to think about it is like a secure digital black box. So when you make a really complex request, your phone sends it to these special secure servers, running on Apple's own chips, by the way. And the Gemini model does its thinking inside that box. The answer gets sent back to you, and your personal data is never stored, and it's never made visible to anyone. Not Apple, not Google, no one. Now, the secret sauce that makes all of this possible is a concept called stateless execution. All that means is that your data is processed in temporary or ephemeral memory, just for that one single task. As soon as the task is done, poof, that memory is wiped completely clean. There are no training logs, there's no storage, there's absolutely no way for Google, or even Apple for that matter, to peek at your personal information. You know, a great way to think about Apple's strategy is with this idea. They're renting Google's brain, but they're keeping it locked inside Apple's house, and it's forced to play by Apple's rules. It's a powerful analogy. Google provides the raw horsepower, the model,
but Apple controls the entire environment it runs in. So, we know why they did it, and we know how they're doing it safely. But what does this actually mean for you, using your iPhone every day? Because this brain transplant, it isn't just about answering questions better. It's about kicking off a whole new era of what's called agentic AI, an AI that can actually act on your behalf and get things done across your apps. Okay, get ready for this, because this is the real game changer. It's a feature called on-screen awareness. Because the new Gemini model is multimodal, meaning it can understand different kinds of info, like text and images, the new Siri can literally see and interpret what is on your screen. It doesn't need a developer to tag every single button. It just understands the visual context, like a photo you're looking at or a paragraph in an article. Seriously, think about that for a second. This is a fundamental shift. For the very first time, your assistant has eyes. It's not just passively listening for a command anymore. It's an active partner, watching and ready to understand what you are doing on your screen right now. And, of course, if it can see, it can act. So what does that mean for you? Well, instead of you needing to tap through a bunch of menus in an app, Siri can now do it for you. It can take direct control, tapping buttons, and filling out forms to get things done that used to take your full attention and a whole lot of swiping. So, you put those two things together, the seeing and the acting, and you get the final, absolutely game-changing piece of the puzzle: planning. Siri is no longer just a simple tool for commands. It is now a proactive planner, an orchestrator that can string together complex actions that span across multiple apps and your entire digital life. So what does that actually look like? Well, you can now say stuff like, find my flight info in my email and book an Uber for when I land. That's incredible. It needs to understand context from your Mail app and then take action in your Uber app. Or how about, add the song I'm looking at to my workout playlist. It sees the song on your screen and it acts in your music app. This is the beginning of the true digital assistant we've always been promised. Okay, let's zoom out one last time, because this partnership between Apple and Google, it isn't just about them. It's a huge shift that completely redefines the competitive landscape for the entire AI industry. Take a look at this. This table pretty much lays out the new world order for AI. The race isn't about dozens of different little startups anymore. It's consolidating around a few massive alliances. You've got Microsoft and their partnership with OpenAI, you've got Amazon backing Anthropic, and now you have this blockbuster team-up of Apple and Google. So the big question is, when does all this actually hit our phones? Well, the rollout is expected to start in the spring of 2026 with iOS 26.4. But don't get it twisted, Apple is still playing the long game here. This is probably a multi-year deal, but it's likely a temporary solution. They're absolutely still racing to develop their own powerful in-house model, with some people pointing to late 2026 as a target. They're buying themselves time, not giving up control forever. And all of this leaves us with one final, really provocative question to think about. If the iPhone, the device that defines Apple, now thinks with a Google brain, what is Apple in this new age of AI? Are they just a hardware company, an experience designer, or have they become the ultimate privacy gatekeeper? That's the question that's going to define the next decade of technology.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. It really helps the channel grow. See you in the next video.